Hello, this is Sandeep Unnithan and welcome to Defense Deep Dive. West Asia is on the edge after the United States threatened to attack Iran for the second time in a little over 6 months. But Donald Trump now seems to have backed off from the original plan. He's done a U-turn. Let me explain why. On the 22nd of June 2025, Trump bombed 3 Iranian nuclear sites because he wanted to deny Iran nuclear weapons. The proposed strikes this time around in 2026 are about regime change. Trump wants the current regime headed by Ayatollah Khamenei to go. Protests erupted in Iran in late December 2025 and they continued into January. Trump threatened to retaliate if the Iranian regime cracked down on the protesters. Now, the regime is believed to have cracked down hard on the protesters, killing hundreds. But Trump hasn't responded yet. On the 13th of January, he asked Iranians to continue protesting because help was on its way. But on the 14th, a day later, he said the US would monitor the situation closely, meaning no military action is forthcoming yet. Now, Iran is weakened over the last 2.5 years. Its ring of proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, have been seriously degraded and shattered after the conflict with Israel, which began on the 7th of October 2023. Now, Trump can strike at Iran from a network of central command bases all across West Asia. Now, the US has bases in the UAE, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Syria, practically all the countries that matter in West Asia. This is the densest network of overseas bases operated by any country in the world. But there's been some unexpected resistance to the Trump strike plan. Now, the Gulf Sheikdoms, particularly Saudi Arabia, don't want Trump to attack Iran from bases on their own soil. Now, this is because Iran could retaliate by striking at these bases with missiles, as it's done in the past. Now, that's one reason the US too has started thinning out its personnel from these bases. There are something like 50,000 US personnel in West Asia. The other reason the Gulf states are worried is, what if the protests continue across the region? Now, Iran may be an autocracy, but so are the Gulf Sheikdoms. Could these wave of protests turn into an Arab Spring 2.0, which had frightened the Sheikdoms in the late 2010s? And there's yet another reason: Israel. Now, Iran has been locked in a proxy conflict with Israel at least since the Islamic Revolution of 1979. In 2025, both countries fought a 12-day war using drones, missiles, and fighter jets. Now, the country that will benefit the most from Iran's collapse is Israel. And that year, in 2025, Israel also attacked 4 other countries: Qatar, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. Israeli jets roamed the skies from the Mediterranean Sea to the Arabian Sea, striking targets at will. And the attack on Qatar in October, Israeli Air Force attack, Qatar, a US protectorate, it prompted outrage in the Gulf. Trump did nothing more than get Netanyahu to apologize to the Qataris, but the damage was done. Under Trump, the US is seen as being more pro-Israel than any recent president, and this is possibly one reason why Saudi Arabia went for a mutual defense pact with nuclear-armed Pakistan last September. Now, Trump has other imponderables of his own when confronting the Iranian regime. The regime can be defeated by a ground invasion, but this kind of campaign would need several months to prepare and take over 150,000 soldiers backed by massive air power, carrier battle groups, and most importantly, the cooperation of all Gulf Sheikdoms who have to allow their bases to be used for this. Now, bear in mind, the US deployed this kind of military muscle to topple Saddam Hussein in Iraq in 2003, but the circumstances then were different. Trump lacks either the intent or the military muscle for such a full-scale invasion of Iran in 2026. So he's possibly looking at airstrikes as an alternative. These airstrikes can be launched from Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, that's nearly 4,000 kilometers south of Iran. He can launch them from aircraft carriers parked in the Arabian Sea, or launch cruise missile strikes from nuclear-powered submarines in the Arabian Sea. Now, the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is in the South China Sea. It's believed to be heading towards the Arabian Sea for precisely a strike of this region. Abraham Lincoln can be within striking range of Iran in just a week. But there's yet another factor that's possibly weighing on the American president's mind. There is no guarantee that airstrikes and missile strikes will lead to a collapse of the Iranian regime. Remember, this is a regime that's been in power for over 45 years. The Shah of Iran's regime fell in 1979 because the Iranian army refused to fire on civilians. Now in 2026, Ayatollah Khamenei has multiple militaries he can count on. Besides the army, there is the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Council, the IRGC, which reports directly to him, the supreme leader. And then there is the paramilitary Basij, a volunteer force that's nearly as large as the Iranian army. That's over 1 million men at arms. So all of these factors, these imponderables could explain why Donald Trump has adopted a path of caution, at least in the interim.